morning. My name is Scott Forcino. I'm with the Exp Realty as an associate broker out of New York City. And I have with me today Alan Abramson, and also an EXP a broker, and he's from the wonderful vacation destination resort of Delray, New York. Delray, Florida, so I read that. Well, it might as well be Delray, New York, right? Right?
Well, it was funny because I lived in Long Beach in New York, and it's very similar.
Very, very. I lived in Huntington, so for law school, so I know exactly, and I love Long Beach.
Yeah, great area.
So that's great. So tell me, I wanted to let you know a little bit about what PlugIntro is, and then this is kind of an on-air orientation. I'm glad you can hear it and see it.
Great.
So this is an opportunity. PlugIntro provides a local business platform, which is anchored by each of our own video interview series. We're here for a year. The great opportunities for us to perform these video interviews so that your public, your local contacts, your friends, family, clients, local business owners, and industry colleagues can learn more about you, why you are the best person for the job, your background, your experience, some of your perspectives in the industry, and why you are the local famous go-to resource. The way we do that is by offering these opportunities to share, and you select your audience from those local contacts and industry colleagues. We build out a little business platform around you, but the best part about that is you offer anyone that you invite the chance to have their own video interview series. So if someone wishes to support you, be the exclusive provider of their services, whether it's a dentist or a chiropractor or a plumber, electrician, they have the opportunity to claim their own exclusive position, which comes with a video interview series. So you're the agent in your area that actually gives a lot to the local business community. You give them a chance to promote their business, which I've been involved in this industry as a lawyer and a broker since 1996. And this is the unique, and I should say unprecedented opportunity for you to do something other than broadcast yourself on social media. You can actually offer a position within your own local business media channel. And that does result in two things. Allows you to meet people through the power of loose connections. You never know who you'll meet. I was out last night. I met a guy from my neighborhood, and he's been down in Florida for 30 years. It's amazing. And plus the law of reciprocity, where maybe if you were to help others, they would, if they could, keep you top of mind and refer you out. And you're just really the mayor of this local community. So that said, Alan, good morning. And I'm really, really happy to have you here. Tell us about yourself and your background, your experience, and what you think was going on in this market, sellers, buyers, how you serve others.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Massachusetts, born and raised in the South Shore. Went to college at Hofstra University in Long Island, worked in Manhattan for a little while. Went back to Boston to work in construction, spent 20 years in the architectural aluminum and glass business. Built everything from a custom brass clad Gucci on Boylston Street in Boston, right by the Marathon finish line. Did the Barney's Copley over there, built an air traffic control tower. So, being in the cosmetic side of the construction industry, you kind of have an eye for what works and, what doesn't. As far as, putting budgets together, if somebody wants to renovate a home, pretty good at understanding the material and labor costs and how that can all, impact your, price and stuff like that.
That's a really almost a unique value proposition. I'm sure you don't have a lot of agents that could compete with that offering.
Not at the moment. There's always a few that have, spent time in construction and stuff like that. But, a lot of it in terms of, projects, like I get somebody I spoke to the other day, and he was like, yeah, the guy screwed up and, this, that, and the other thing. And, I think I overpaid him. And I said, well, what'd you have him do? And you told me what he did. And I said, well, you have to look at it from how many man hours it takes to actually do the job. And once he understood that, then he started seeing how it can all come together.
Well, how about your buyers and sellers? How are they, and how are you navigating this market for them? And tell me about the hot market we keep hearing about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a listing right when just before COVID hit, and I had 25 offers on the deal. And it's all about managing the contracts coming in, be able to communicate with everybody, Um, and so it's still a seller's market, and it's looking like it's going to be that way, for this year and probably into next year. I know interest rates have gone up, and there's always ways to beat the mortgage, and cut the interest off of it. I mean, my first mortgage was 30-year 9.5 back in 1991. So
Mm.
then 2 years later I refinanced, and started paying twice monthly, and knocked I went to a 15-year mortgage. So it knocked 3.5 years off of the mortgage. So the total time I put into that mortgage on the property was about 14 years. So there's always ways to beat the mortgage, and some people say, well, okay, let me refi. But also you might want to look at taking the actual cost of the refi and paying it right to the principal, and just pay twice monthly instead of, once a month,
That's good advice. Once someone buys the home, how are you getting your buyer's offers accepted?
In this market, it's challenging. There's no doubt. There's low inventory, high demand. We're seeing a lot of people moving from the Northeast, um, and it's still happening. The keys to getting offers accepted, I mean, cash is always king. You don't have to worry about an appraisal contingency. But if you're financing, the way around the appraisal contingency, which a lot of the sellers are asking to be removed, is you have to put in the contract that the buyer shall pay the contract price regardless of the appraisal value. So what does that mean to the buyer? Is you have to have some extra cash on the sideline to be able to cover the appraisal gap. If you're a first-time buyer and you don't have it, it's even more challenging.
Now, have you come across a situation, because I have, where someone represents in a contract that they will cover the difference and then they don't?
I haven't seen that happen. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the ramifications from, to the buyer. I mean, there's a possibility they could lose their escrow deposit. But again, I'm not giving legal advice because I don't have the attorney background. I have had situations where I had a listing, and the buyer gave pre-approval, and we thought we covered all our, dots our I's and crossed our T's, and at the end of towards the end of the closing, the title company called us up and said the deal's contingent on the buyer selling their property. Well, the buyer didn't disclose they had a property to sell. We got lucky that they closed it, but I mean, if it didn't close, then creates a whole other set of circumstances. You know what I mean?
In New York, the attorneys handle contracts. So one of the contracts I've used and seen is it specifically sets forth that yes, you're allowed to. Yes, a buyer is allowed to secure financing contingent. I should say, purchase the property contingent on securing financing. However, this is interesting. Good work by attorneys and brokers. If the financing is contingent upon the sale of a home, it's not going to be that's not going to be acceptable. So you can get a mortgage, but that mortgage can't depend on your sale.
Okay.
Even though it may not be a condition, it is really a practical circumstance. So yes, that was the representation, which one day might come up in a courtroom, but the practical reality is most people have to sell before buying.
Of course. I guess you could add, so New York and even Massachusetts is sort of similar, where agents will write up an offer sheet and then the attorneys take over and handle the closing. In Florida, it's a pre-established contract, and all as realtors we're doing is just filling in blanks, and the contracts are standardized. So you can always have language added, to put that stuff in there. I guess that's one way around it,
Yeah. So I mean, so you're basically telling people, I mean, over asking and quick close. How about showing their, their cards, their credit, their income, and their assets?
Oh, well, all that comes into play. I mean, if you're cash, they're going to ask you for proof of funds to prove you can afford the property. If you don't want to show an actual financial statement, you can always have a CPA or lawyer write a letter saying that there's more than enough funds to cover the purchase and stuff like that, and that's the workaround.
Interesting.
As far as the over asking, I mean, yeah, I don't know how we're getting around that market right now.
Interesting. So, what about your pricing strategy as a listing agent when you represent sellers? How do you, I should say, calculate the natural consequence of getting offers above asking? I mean, at one point, is there a point of evaluating the offers and see how they stack up against others within that over asking?
Well, I'll answer it this way. So, to the first part of your question, overpriced in any market is going to be overpriced. So, the story or the example I would use is if I put a $20 bill on the table and I ask you to give me $25 for the $20 bill, your answer is no, because don't overpay. But if I ask you for $18 for that $20 bill, you're going to do that all day long because you just picked up $2. So, from a traffic point of view, show that you are offering value. You'll have more buyers coming through your home, and you'll end up in a multiple offer situation. You generally get more than the so-called $20. You might even get closer to the 25 because you're creating a bidding frenzy.
Mm-hmm. Right. How do you handle specifically your bidding in the multiple offers? Highest and best. What's your practice?
In this day, you don't want to. I mean, you're hired by the seller, so depending on the scenario, and every scenario can be different. I mean, if you have multiple offers, you can go back and do one round highest and best. Some owners will just say, in this market, they don't want to go back and forth, and just put your highest and best offer out there. Put your best foot forward, and that's it. Whatever we get. I mean, a lot of times, what's happening is the homes are coming on, and the owners reps or the listing agents are saying, we're going to evaluate offers, 2 days after or 4 days after all the showings, and we're going to make a decision. So every situation is slightly different.
I see. And listen, of course. And how do you derive your business? Is it lead gen? Is it referrals? Is it networking? What's been your positive?
Lead generation, referrals. Past clients are a great resource. I just had a client that I'm working with now refer me a buyer for a condo on the beach in Boca, and so that's the highest compliment you can get. I mean, much like when they ask you for feedback on the home, the highest feedback I can give you is a contract.
Good point.
Shows the most interest.
And how long have you been in this Southern Florida market?
So I celebrated my 12th anniversary of living in Florida April 1st. No joke, funny. And I started out actually in commercial real estate, thinking, because I had the commercial construction background, that it would be an easy transition. But it was ultimately really, about 2 to 3 years before you would start really creating a new book of business and solidifying yourself. So I transitioned over to real estate, to the residential, and I've been going at it ever since. And my first year, I was just getting my feet wet. I was in a new market. I had no, source of, anything here. I was just, kind of like quitting smoking cold turkey. I was thrown into a market, and, I fended for myself. And, the first year I did well. I think I closed probably 60,000 in gross commissions. And then every year since then, it's just kept growing. Right now, this year I'm on target, to have probably one of my best years.
Very nice to hear.
Yeah.
So, one thing I found, I had two problems where throughout my career where I did not have enough people to meet and I didn't have enough value to offer them. Now, yes, a professional like yourself or others in the market, top market leaders, are great in the deal. And I think there's a real need to be great outside the deal. So for someone to select you, for them to refer you or even introduce you to their contacts, there has to be a way to maintain strong contact in a positive environment. So I thought how I can assist others, and it just hit me. I mean, I said to myself, I'm driving around town and all these established businesses and locals are here. And I created my own Facebook group and I called it PlugIntro, where you plug yourself by introducing others. And then that gives those people a chance to promote themselves. And then it can grow. You don't know who. So I hear the methods you've used, but I would imagine between your clients and your friends and your local business owners and even industry people that you work with, insurance guys or home inspectors, lenders, there's a great opportunity to give them a chance to promote their business. So what do you think about that? Do you think that's a sound, valid proposition?
Oh, of course. Listen, I have clients who always ask me, "Hey, do you know somebody here?" And I'm always referring other people to other clients. I just referred a handyman to a client last night. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share the business. I mean, I'd rather give it to people I know because I know they'll do the job right, and instead of just going to strangers.
Sure, it's got to be a warm contact, almost vetted, or someone that comes through someone you know.
Right, exactly. It's
Yeah,
always best to keep it in your so-called sphere, and you refer them business, they refer you people, and it's just one hand taking care of the other, so to speak.
I believe that. I believe that. The problem I've had with the term sphere is, I guess, unlike what you've described, where you're cross referring, is that all too often agents just broadcast to their sphere. In fact, the word they use is a terrible one: market to your sphere. You're talking about co-referrals. That's powerful. But when I hear the term market to your sphere, to me that says that you're just blabbing about yourself to people you may know, but they're
Right.
not offering those people a chance to benefit. So in your case, if you were to introduce, let's say, a tradesman, a plumber, electrician to your insurance guy or financial planner, I mean, they're completely different worlds, but I'm sure a lot of synergy.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's nice when you can, somebody you work with, does a sale with you, and you can return the favor. I mean, one of my guys is that I sold a couple of years ago. He's a great finished carpenter, and having spent 20 years in construction and knowing, you know, um, you know, good quality versus just you know meh is important, especially when it's cosmetic. I mean, I remember years ago when I first came down here, I was at a house and quarter round molding. I mean, if it's 20 cents a foot, uh, so cheap, but sometimes you run out of stock. Um, you got to get in the car, you got to go to Home Depot, or when I have my business up in Boston, sometimes I'm on the job and I go run back to the shop and go make something or pick up stock or supplies. You get in your car and you go. Just do what it takes to do the job. In this one little 4-foot section, I saw a quarter round spliced 3 times. I was like, oh my god, you know. And so it gets down to just doing the job right the first time. I mean, the classic saying: "There's always enough time to do the job right the second time, but not enough time to do it right the first time."
Yeah, I had a boss who used to say that if you got to do it the second time, you do it the first time.
Right.
That's a natural, unfortunate tendency. But I think that it's so important. There's two components to this PlugIntro platform, which I think just as it captures what happens in life, but now it's a formal digital unit, which each of your platform will be PlugIntro Abramson, and you'll have the opportunity, which really is unprecedented chance to let your local business community really benefit by meeting each other.
Sure.
But there's one more thing where, yes, you want to be the professional that offers value to your neighbors and give them a chance to benefit so they think highly of you. But there's also with the people that you represent, you provide them a real resource of the plumbers, electricians, or the local restaurants, or the people that, people buy a house, they're going to need a lot of things.
Sure.
Get it in shape, and maybe they need a new insurance guy. Maybe they're buying a house and never had home insurance.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, there's some people down here that do self-insure. I mean, if you own it outright, obviously. I mean, if there's a mortgage, then the lender's going to force you to have
Self-insure is what? Fingers and hope for the best?
Well, I guess, the stories I heard back during, I think it was Hurricane Andrew, was that, and again, just hearsay, I didn't, experience it, but that some of the insurance companies didn't pay out. And so, if you do an average home tile roof, can run you 35,000, depending on the size of the home. It can run more too. And so, sometimes the insurance companies didn't pay out, and the people were fighting with the insurance companies. And, I mean, look what happened in Long Island. What was it, Sandy that came through?
Sandy, 2012. Yep.
And I mean, I heard stories where a lot of homes were, putting claims in, and, the insurance companies weren't getting around to them.
Right, because that's really a nuance with the flood insurance. Flood insurance does not cover floods. People don't realize that. I had Hurricane Ida on September 1st.
Yeah.
Dealt with it till January. So I hear you. I mean, that's important. But in this PlugIntro platform, you will have access to the local resources, white collar or blue collar, to serve a family. I mean, look, I love realtors, but sometimes it's not brain surgery. So you have to do a lot more than just the job. I call it a sandwich. The doing the job is the middle part. The first part is offering value to others so they think of you first, and you're in a constant connection with them through something you're using anyway, Facebook. That's the first. The second is being a good realtor. And the third is offering them the opportunity to gain by having the service providers they need. I mean, how many times have you seen on Facebook a realtor asking for something that they should have, like a handyman or painter, or someone who's an architect? But I mean, it's embarrassing when I don't understand. They're basically identifying themselves as someone who is not a resource for clients. It's crazy to me.
Sure. Yeah. I always say, for me and with my clients, the service doesn't end at the closing. I mean, we're building a long-term relationship, and, obviously you're looking to, hopefully maybe get the sale if they decide to list and move, but it's beyond that. It's the friendship and the relationship that you built during the start of a meeting, and, eventually finding them a home and closing, and then, keep going. You don't just,
no, of course,
just stop. Yeah.
Your business can't wait around for them to sell their house. So you need to gain a real warm welcome from the people they know in the community immediately that can share your positive experience. You've heard of the testimonials, the reviews.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see those reviews on Facebook, and to me, that's a post which dies at midnight, and there's too much value in a satisfied client to give it to a Facebook post, which is doing nothing for anyone. It doesn't help anyone. It shows how great you are. It also is seen by your competition. Why do you want your competition to see what you're doing? I mean, unfortunately, they're not cheering you on. And the worst part about it is when you share something in a Facebook post, you're not offering it to anyone. You're not selecting your audience, just throwing it out there and hoping that someone cares. And it's one day.
Right.
In your platform now, you will select the people that you want to hear this interview, and those subsequent interviews are about a listing. I'm sure you want to pick some strategic referral partners or some clients, and specifically ask for, specifically say, listen, I just did this. Who do you know? How can I help? How can I help you?
Of course. Yeah, it's always being of service.
Ultimately, this is, as you know, not a real estate business, it's a people business.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to care.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I always tell my clients, I look at your your situation, and I look at your wallet as my wallet. And if I wouldn't spend the money on a home, I mean, or if the home needs, so much work that it's gonna, be, the money pit, like the movie.
Um,
I want you to be aware of it. I mean, I'd rather show you when I do live video tours. I don't just show you the good stuff and skip over the bad stuff. I want you to see the bad stuff because that's what's gonna hit you. And
but
I would.
there's so much information that really becomes wisdom based on your experience. I mean, that people really need to become aware of. I know Florida's far more transactional,
Mhm.
and facilitated deal, but in a true fiduciary relationship, I'll give you an example. It just happened to someone, and I never thought about this, and it really kind of shocked me. Someone bought a house that was really, 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 reflective of the times in my area. Long Beach, so is that Nassau County? It is Nassau, right?
Nassau, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so look at the Nassau. It's crazy. House in Syosset. They sold for 900, and it needed everything, right? Because of the great school system. But guess what? The taxes were based on a value that was from like the 70s. The town doesn't know what. They don't just increase your taxes based on nothing. So without a sale, so now this place is 900,000. The taxing authority says, well, that's a $900,000 house. So people get in and realize that in addition to their mortgage payment, which is going to remain the same based on the loan amount, it is what it is.
Right.
4%, 600 grand is going to be the same for 30 years. Guess what's not going to be the same? The taxes. So
Right.
that can go up without almost no recourse because it's justified. So now, how does that affect your affordability? So I don't hear any agents talking about that topic, that when you go crazy now, it's only going to get worse because now you're telling the town, hey, listen, this is another high dollar value property that we have to tax appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of times, we'll have, homes that are, older or were purchased, a while back, and they have a lower tax basis. And, um, when the buyer is buying the house, you point out that, I mean, you got to realize that the seller's taxes are not going to be your taxes. Down in Florida, if you close today, you get the benefit of the seller's taxes throughout the rest of this year. But the tax appraiser comes out in August, and the bill comes out in November. And down here, I mean, it's paid, in arrears and yearly. So you get your tax bill in November, pay it, you get a 4% discount, then reduces 1 point after that. But the following year, your taxes could go up. And we use the 2% rule because it's just simpler math. So if you had that same $900,000 home, 900,000 times 2% is, approximately what your tax is going to be. It's usually more.
In 2021, because I was living in Jupiter, Abacoa.
Sure.
Some locals, and I had never known that. And I thought, wow, that's a really neat, clean way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, in New York, they use something called a mill rate. I mean, I still don't know exactly. I mean, it's the most, and they're a wealthy community.
The millage rate is the right way to actually calculate your taxes down here. But I mean, I think, a lot of us, we learned the millage and all that stuff during, the real estate class, but, you don't use it every day. So, the percentage rule is a little bit, it's generic, but I mean, it gets you fairly close.
It makes sense, but I'm wondering why mortgage, I mean, let's go first in line is the lending industry should be aware of this topic, and the realtors should, in trickle down effect, be aware too. So if someone's really on the margins, let's say a FHA loan, which is a high back end ratio, and then another 300-400 a month, I mean, that we're looking at a lot of consequence.
No, you're right. I mean, but if you're an FHA buyer in this market, I mean, hopefully you have enough, resources financially to be able to pay the bills. I mean, the last thing you want to see is somebody, go into foreclosure. I mean, you're buying a home. I mean, that's supposed to be your pride and joy. I mean, um, so being financially sound. I mean, even when it comes to like rentals, I mean, I use the FHA guideline. For your rental expense should be, I think it's 26 to 31% of your monthly income. You don't want to. I've had some people they'll send numbers and the rent is 50%, and then you look at it, you're like, well, you really can't afford this, and so you don't want to get in over your head. I mean, it's nice to have and want nice stuff, but at the end of the day, financially, you have to be responsible.
You're right, and that's look what happened in that last bust of 08, 09.
Right.
That was it took years to get out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see a housing, crash coming because of mortgages. You know, will there be a correction? I don't have my crystal ball out, but a lot of people think that at some point, there could be a correction. Maybe 10 to 20%, but then
Yeah, and that's a good point. Based on you working with these buyers, I mean, when do they imagine they're getting equity? Basically, never.
right. Well, I mean, it's surprising. I mean, last year I had a buyer in contract, and then the deal ended up falling apart. But we looked at another home in the same community, and it went up 600,000 in 1 year.
What?
I swear to God.
What was the original price to go up 600?
We looked at the one we looked at where we were in contract was right around $1,100,000. But it was on a what we call a dry lot, meaning no water view. And the other home that was on the market with a water view was listed at 1.9. I said, look, take 200,000 for a water view, I mean, which is excessive, and you're at 1.7. So you're at 1.1, you're at 1.7. I mean, you could have turned a $600,000 profit in 1 year. This was happening down here. It's crazy, but.
In December 2020, basically in the middle of, and this is Florida that opted out of COVID, as you know,
Right.
Went to contract, new construction, 1.2 million. I guess in Boca, beautiful area. House just finished, not finished, but finished. And it was delayed due to getting materials during 2021 with basically some of the mess we're in. And he wasn't even marketing it. He went to contract for 1.2. What do you think he's able to get now?
Probably close to 1.4, 1.5.
No, he's in contract. It's an old contract from almost a year and a half year old contract at 1.2, which must have been a hell of a place for December 2020 for 1.2 million. He's telling me he's getting offers for 2.6.
Wow.
And his wife's going crazy. He goes, "Hun, go crazy, because I'm not, this ain't coming around again." So he's going to Vendy it out. And, they spend a lot of time and effort picking this or picking that, but I mean, reality deep in. So,
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The only reason I said the 1.4, 1.5 was because I had a buyer put an offer in on a home in Parkland. Was listed at $1,198,000 of all numbers. He said to me, and it hadn't even come on the market. So down in Florida, we have a coming soon section. Usually about 7 days to pre-market the home. And so he said to me, put an offer 1.2 in. And I said to him, I'm happy to make the offer, but I'm telling you now, it's not going to be the winning offer. And so he was using an attorney down here, and he spoke to the attorney. The attorney said, give him $1,250,000. And I knew in my head that it still wasn't enough. Hasn't closed yet, but the numbers we were told were right around $1,400,000. People, I mean, there's a home in this case, somebody's willing to pay almost $200,000 more than the list price to win it. I mean, that's just the nature. Yeah.
I think we're going to look back on these days and laugh. It's the absurdity.
Right. I mean, I had a buyer in 2011, that was sort of the low point in the market. And he says, I wish I had bought more.
I'll tell you, too. I have investment properties, and I wish there's things I still have some.
Sure.
But man, I mean, this is such a ridiculous nature. But when that happens, someone's still got to buy, so they're almost in the same predicament. I've heard that sales being held off because they have nowhere to go.
But that's the thing. I mean, you can sell and you take top dollar, but even in the rental market, it's challenging in the rental market. I put a rental on. It was beautiful, fully renovated. This is the same client who gave me the referral for the condo on the beach, and we put it on for 2,500, and it closed at 3,100.
That's not sure. Things went up 10-20% like it's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't see an end to it right now.
No, even the rates won't affect. Maybe in the middle markets. We're in this ecosystem where you got to really just work, and that really tells you more. Let me tell you one more really important thing that I came across.
Sure.
I'm sure you work with your referral partners, your lenders, your title, those folks, right? Your inspectors. And I'm 55 years old, so there's kind of a generational thing going on where I have a post that I wrote called "Trust is Under Attack." If you really think about it, Rocket Mortgage on the Super Bowl did $30 million commercial for a minute or half. I don't even know, half a minute. So Zillow has been trying to disconnect agents from buyers where they no longer they really need to speak to an agent. They can just click someone's face who almost acts as a functionary. Right. So they're beginning connected to buyers without any effort, which is one thing. But all the technology and all the funding and all the venture capital and all the Wall Street investors and firms are throwing money at the notion of consumer direct, where it's Zillow, whether it's Rocket Mortgage, whether it's Quicken Loans. They have no interest or emphasis on people that are millennial or older millennials in connecting professionals with trust. So the people like you or me or others in your market and people historically, we're doing something that is counter culture, if you really think about it. So we have to work extra hard because they're coming for us.
Right.
And on top of the purveyors of the technology, you tell me that someone 30 years old isn't living on their phone and they've done everything in their phone for the last 15 years and they're not going to listen to someone as old as their parent. They're looking at you with suspicion anyway, and they definitely don't want to be sold.
Right.
So now, if you're not offering something to a colleague or a contact of real value to them, to me, you can't offer them health, you can't offer them family, you can offer them money for their business or a way to promote themselves. So my point is, we really better be looking out. And I think at this point, professionals in almost any field need to be extremely interested and productive in fostering productive relationships.
I totally agree. It's always been about the relationship. I remember when I was in construction before, as you say, the so-called cell phone technology, and I would go to visit general contractors in their office and look at different projects and actually photocopy or actually make pictures of elevations. But the one story that sticks out in my mind is, I was in a contractor's office and I happened to be walking by one of the project manager's office, and I had worked with him before. And he says, stop by after you finish with, so-and-so. So I stopped by. He had a project. And he said, can you give me a price? So I priced it right there for him. And I walked out with a job.
Okay. Well, that was a while ago, and that was really not open to everyone, where everything online is open to everyone. In this case, if I'm correct in saying, because I have my family, I'm the only non-union carpenter in my family, where, they look at my hands and they know that I'm not using a saw every day.
Right.
And we're in a condition where the younger people are not at all buying what we're selling. They're not in any kind of person-to-person situation anymore. So I think there's not a lot of life to the model we're in. Your old construction industry was an old boys network.
Right. Well, you build the relationships, which is exactly what you're talking about.
I doubt there's a ton of women in it. I doubt there's a lot of young people in it. So we are in the complete opposite now. Everyone is totally empowered to make their own choices, and it's in line with what they do everywhere else. You go to Amazon, you choice.
Right.
Even so, now we are at this point. So, and I like to say, if that's why I put PlugIntro out, because all we're offering someone is a digital position. It doesn't cost you steak dinner, just like all the realtors get steak dinners from lenders. When I talk to lenders, they said, if you're not giving agents a productive way to promote the business, what are you doing? Your case, if you're not giving your referral partners and your clients and your contacts a way to know more about you, what are you doing? And they've built up an antibodies to broadcast and posting and all about someone other than themselves. You got to serve them.
Right. It's just definitely a different time. I have some of my clients that, we all say, we're almost like the dinosaur age. We're archaic. I mean, it's learning a new way of doing business.
Mm-hmm. It's a new way of gaining exposure. And I think the mistake people make is attempting to attract attention versus taking the opportunity to gain attention. And you're only going to gain it based on giving them something that they find valuable, but in addition, letting them know more about you. It's a real quid pro quo. So those are the steps we have to take. I mean, so we are embarking, you and I and our staff, on a year-long video interview series. The next few steps are for you to invite your contacts to hear this and show them that they can have something like this too. We introduce them so they feel special, and they are important, and they are included, and they're complimented, and they're honored because you're handpicking them. It's not open to the public. They are vetted. They come through trusted source. And lastly, once they feel the importance and the opportunity to invite their own contacts, we all meet more people.
Right.
Others will be able to be. I mean, you want a team of people that are committed to your success, and we offer that team a chance to be the exclusive provider of their services. So it really works. We are here for you. I treat, as a fellow broker, I treat brokers as clients in your upcoming membership for the year. In your local meetings, we'll have them online as very important members of the community. And I'm looking forward to this upcoming year and this period of time and the benefits that you offer. They're not people that are not going to know me. They're not going to know our staff. They're going to know you.
Sure.
So it's powerful. And how can we get in touch with you, and we'll set up the next interview of yours?
Okay. Well, cell phone 561-400-9077. For those Long Islanders, it's 561, not 516. It's a funny thing,
Right.
And then you can always email me at Alan, ALAN, period, Abramson, ABRAMSON, the number 4, at gmail.com.
Perfect. Okay.
So,
My pleasure.
Happy to help you any way I can.
Yeah, my pleasure spending time with you, and we'll schedule our meeting and our next interview, and we're going to make a big impression. We'll dent in the universe in Southern Florida real estate.
Fantastic. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure as well. You take care. Thank you.
Great.